So this is probably going to be episode 6, part 1 of how they got me fucked up. This may be part 1 of how to remove a district attorney. This episode is just me being raw, me being real. So at this current moment, I'm in a hotel in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Last night, I drove out here from Concord, North Carolina, which is literally the next town over above Charlotte. Drove a few hours, come out here to come see Ronnie Long. Ronnie Long was freed last year in 2020 by the 4th Circuit Court of Appeals out of Richmond, Virginia. He was wrongly convicted of a rape, ended up spending 44 years in prison. And so last night was his 1-year anniversary of being released from prison. So I came out here and then we went bowling, had a great time. He's got an amazing wife that ended up getting married while he was in prison. She's been one of the ones to kind of hold him down through this whole process and be able to partner with the right people to get him the kind of representation that he needed, and also get the kind of momentum and advocacy that he needed from the groups of people that he needed. So last night it was me, Ronnie. Ronnie was the first time for him to be able to bowl, and I had a great time. So not only was he there, but the professor and lawyer from Duke Law, I think if I remember correctly, they're either part of the wrongful conviction or they're part of the Innocent Project. But his lawyer from Chapel Hill University and his lawyer from Duke University was there last night, and one of their families. Dr. Monell from Winston Salem State University, Dr. Nation from Winston Salem State University, another couple, and me personally, I'm a graduate from Winston Salem State University, graduate in social work. And that's how I learned about Ronnie. I was actually moved to Concord from Charlotte in '99. I had my own problems with Cabarrus County, with Concord over my life. But whenever I transferred from community college to Winston-Salem State, when I was going through the Coltrane building, and I used to see this mugshot, and I was just kind of curious as to who it was. So over time, I learned that it was Ronnie Long, that he's actually from Concord. And in 1976, he was 21 at the time. He had been wrongly convicted of a rape, ended up spending 44 years in prison. So the victim has stated over time that she was coerced by the Concord Police Department to lie and say that it was Ronnie. While working with the Sheriff's Department and the District Attorney at that time and the SBI for the state of North Carolina at that time, somehow, some way, a majority of these people got into cahoots to make sure that Ronnie stayed in prison. So the DNA didn't match, the fingerprints didn't match. The lady was told to lie and say that it was Ronnie. They stacked the all-white jury against him, even though Supreme Court law has even said that that's unconstitutional. Then they withhold this evidence and send him away and hope to God for years that nothing happens. So later on, this officer actually ends up going to prison. If I remember correctly, these other people end up becoming judges and moving up in the state and different things like that. So in 96, 97, Roxanne Vanderhoven becomes the district attorney of Cabarrus County. Never met Ronnie a day in her life. And in 2005, she fights tooth and nail to withhold and keep this evidence from entering Ronnie's hands. So this man legitimately spends years fighting tooth and nail just to get this evidence. And even then, Roy Cooper, who's now the governor of North Carolina, who was actually the attorney general representing the state of North Carolina in partnership with Roxanne Vanderhoven to continuously keep this man in prison by using the phrase that even though that the DNA evidence didn't match Ronnie and that the fingerprints didn't match Ronnie, that it would still be enough to have him convicted if he was given another trial. Like, this is the kind of shiesty BS that goes on in our legal system. And it's perfectly, they consider it perfectly sound, that you can legitimately say that even though a district attorney or the police or whoever is withholding evidence to prove your innocence, that it wouldn't make a difference at trial because somehow, some way, a jury wouldn't have found it to be pertinent information to have known that something was being withheld to prove someone's innocence. Like, that's crazy. And this man was given like life in prison. And if I remember correctly, he was potentially given like death. So she fights this man tooth and nail, and she's still the district attorney of Cabarrus County. And finally, after all these shady ass lawyers, and not shady ass lawyers, but after all these shady ass judges, finally he was able to get to the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals out of Richmond, Virginia. And they pretty much said that his sentence had to be vacated and he had to be released. So last night was his 1 year anniversary. And I personally have had my own run-ins with Roxanne, and maybe something I'll explain later. But now I'm gonna campaign with several others to get this fucking bitch removed. Not only is Ronnie Long the only victim of Roxanne in Cabarrus County, there's multiple victims. Doesn't matter if you're white, black, rich, poor. It's a pay-to-play system in Cabarrus County with Roxanne and these corrupt ass fucking judges at the forefront. All these fucking judges, all these fucking lawyers out of Cabarrus County, there's some fucking cucks. There's some fucking simps. They sit here and suck this bitch's clit from the fucking back. Like, it's asinine to think that these niggas just willy-nilly, just every single day bow down to this fucking cunt, to this stupid ass fucking bitch. Most of these fucking lawyers are fucking retarded. And even as somebody with a college degree that graduated at the top of my fucking class, I have realized that the average motherfucker doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about. And that's cool. But as a fucking lawyer, you're supposed to be a specialist in your fucking field. You're supposed to be this person who took it to the next level by getting your graduate degree and spending 3 years of that. And it's called a Juris Doctorate because you're supposed to be a doctor of law. You're supposed to be one of the elite in your field, especially when you're representing somebody in a criminal defense attorney, as a criminal defense attorney. But here's the real reality, that these motherfuckers leave law school and then they go work in the prosecutor's office, and then they want to become defense attorneys in the same county that they left the prosecutor's office. Well, motherfucker, you don't think of it as a defense attorney, you think of it as a prosecutor for one. I'm not saying that you cannot be an effective defense attorney because you have once worked in the prosecutor's office. But if you already come ingrained with the mentality that people are guilty and they have to be proven innocent, then you'll never think of as a defense attorney that people are innocent and they have to be proven guilty. And so what happens in Concord, and which I'm sure happens around the country, especially when you read something like Michelle Alexander's New Jim Crow, The Rise of Mass Incarceration and the Age of Colorblindness, when you read something like that, then you realize that this is not a phenomenon that takes place in a small county like Cabarrus County, but it actually takes place in major metropolitan cities, in these so-called democratic places or these more liberal places, even though in a place like Concord, which is that's very conservative. And it's not saying that I don't have conservative beliefs, because of many of my beliefs are very conservative. But what I'm saying is that these people who are in power, whether they are liberal or conservative, they have a complete disregard for the Constitution. They have a complete disregard for federal law. They have a complete disregard for what the Supreme Court has written over the 100 years of this great institution. And that people just fall by the wayside, and that you don't really understand this criminal justice system until you're a victim of it, or until somebody that you know is affected by it. So, but here's the true problem in Concord. Here's the true problem, is that nobody challenges these district attorneys. Nobody challenges these judges. So you legitly have a system of all these people who are best friends. They all play golf together. They all go to lunch together. They all have Christmas parties and New Year's parties. They're all together. And if they're not together, then many of these lawyers, they will not rub the district attorney wrong in order just to keep face for their future clients. So they become ineffective lawyers, which also violates Supreme Court law, and in part violates the Constitution. Because if you're an ineffective lawyer, how can you truly give somebody their due process and make sure that their rights are truly enforced and that the Constitution is truly enforced in court if you're an ineffective lawyer? And the crazy thing is, majority of these lawyers don't know what the fuck they're doing. Most of these judges, see, it was taught to me that majority of the time, a judge is nothing but a failed attorney. So for them to work around the clock to keep Ronnie Long incarcerated is not just about Ronnie, it's about the whole entire system that is flawed. And we have to keep these people accountable. That these people, they swore an oath to the Constitution, and they have to be kept accountable for that, for their actions. So currently, right now, I'm running a campaign alongside many others to get this fucking bitch removed. This bitch has to go. This bitch has been in here almost 20 fucking years, and all these motherfuckers cuck out to her. They simp out to her. They sit there and hold her hand while she sits there and coddles them. But me, what the fuck a bitch gonna do to me? I'm particularly a different kind of person compared to these fools, compared to these soft ass motherfuckers. And I'm not sitting here saying like I'm like this scary dude or anything like that. But I'm brilliant, I'm consistent, and I'm gonna continuously apply pressure until she cracks. And when you have the mentality that you are willing to die for a cause, that you're willing to stand for something or fall for anything, or you're willing to stand for meaning, life and death is just another thing that just is part of the process. And so currently what we're doing is we're running a petition campaign outside the courthouse. about her removal. And in this process of strategizing, we're going to also target many of her judges and her colleagues. We're going to attack the purse, those in the city and county commissioners, those who handle the money that she needs to operate as a unit. We're going to wage a full-fledged campaign to the North Carolina bar to have her disbarred, and wage a full-on campaign with the United States Department of Justice. And I have my particular feelings about them, and I have my particular feelings about Joe Biden, and many of them are not pleasant, many of them not. Many of them are very much out of constructive criticism. I don't know about the constructive part, but I'm definitely critical. But these people have to be held accountable. The United States Department of Justice has to do their job, especially when the state of North Carolina and these lawyers and this district attorney and these judges and these officers have failed Ronnie Long, and they're failing millions of other people around this county, around this nation. Not around this county, but around this state and around the nation. Many people are failed by this criminal justice system, and we are taught from a young age that you have equal access. We are taught in civics and economics about Gideon versus Wainwright. We are taught that you will have a right to counsel, and that you will have but there's also a case, Strickland versus Washington, that negates Gideon versus Wainwright. Not necessarily negates it, but it shows the potential of ineffective counsel. And we also see in Brady versus Maryland the need to disclose all information from the district attorney that has to be given over, whether it proves somebody's guilt to the fullest or proves their innocence to the fullest. And we also have to have rights to a speedy trial. This woman, she'll wait years till you break, to either A, that you can't find housing, or B, you can't find a job, or C, that you're just sitting in jail long enough that you break and that you take a plea bargain, and that you'd rather spend time in prison, or you'd rather spend time on probation at home than you would sitting, rotting away, or pissing your life away with pending charges, or with just sitting in jail at a place where they won't even give you a fucking rag. They say that we're humane, or that you're innocent until proven guilty. So this is just the main update on Roxanne Vanderhoeven, how we're gonna get her fucking removed. And then I'm gonna show a blueprint and develop a blueprint on how to get this fucking shit done. You have to use unconventional tactics, you have to use psychological warfare, and you have to use the power of the bully pulpit, where you legitly have to get to the people. You have to grassroots this, and this is not a campaign. These people, even though they might be county, or they might be local, or they might be city, and this isn't just about the district attorney, this is about all positions of local municipalities and local governments. These people have power, these people have money, these people have stature, but they can't be defeated. Any Goliath can easily be taken out by a rock by David, as long as you have the courage and the tenacity and the skill set to use that rock and wield it correctly with your slingshot. And so this is for any activist or anybody who's been wronged, or anybody who knows somebody who's been wronged. This is for us to reclaim the power that is owed to us by the Constitution. Like, share, subscribe, tell me your thoughts, tell me your dislikes, but yeah.